Today's Tame Your Talent lesson is get a job, okay? Get a job. Sounds easy, doesn't it? Get a job. Here's the deal. I could teach you all these announcing skills. You could go through all my courses. You can go with the first one, the second one, the third one, any ones I do after that. You can go through all those classes. But if you don't apply yourself after you learn the knowledge which I'm teaching you, you're not going to get a job. So how do you get a job? That's the most important thing we need to talk about right now. Well, I got my start, believe it or not, by volunteering. Volunteering is one of the best ways that you can get started into announcing, because you know what? There's so many events, and events aren't going away. There's more and more events every single year. So you have to think about it, okay? Well, how can I get some of these events? Well, will these events come to me once I learn all this knowledge? No one's going to know you know how to announce. So how do you show people that you can announce? That's why volunteering is a big part of it. It's one of the things that's how I got started. I volunteered to get into it. Now, I always wanted to be into radio. So how did I get into it? I volunteered. I'm a surfer. I knew a little bit about the surf, so I did a surf report. That's it, a 2-minute surf report. That's all I did to volunteer to start out to get into radio. Then I wanted to get into sport announcing. How did I get into sport announcing? Well, anybody? Anybody? How did I get in? Well, I got into sport announcing by volunteering. Volunteering is the way to get your start. And it may suck to work for free, but I'll tell you what, that's how you get started. That's how you get noticed. Yeah, talking about volunteering and talking about working for free, so you're not happy about it, but look, if you're going to volunteer and you're going to volunteer and work for free and get on the mic for the first time, you don't want to be disgruntled about the whole thing. You don't want to be, I'm not going to put any time into this. I'm not even getting paid. I'm doing this. I'm a volunteer. Well, that's not going to get you anywhere either. If you want to build a career in announcing and have success in announcing, you need to have fun at what you're doing, and you need to treat it like you're getting paid thousands and thousands of dollars just to be able to do that event. So when it comes down to it, working for free, you know what? That's to get noticed, to get recognized, that's an important thing, okay? And the having fun part. You know what? People can tell when you're on a microphone if you're having fun. They can tell. They can tell because it comes across in your speech, in what you're saying. People can tell you're having fun. So if you're having fun, you're volunteering at an event, you're doing an amazing job because that's what you're there to do. You're there to prove to people, this announcing world, that you're ready to take it by storm and do all these major events. Well, that's what you got to do. You got to volunteer. You got to start that way. That's how you do it. Brad, how do I find out what events I can do? How do I know what I can volunteer for? Let me see, what is a good, guess what you can do? You can research events. Now, I'll tell you what, my local area, where I do local music, where I'm a DJ on a radio station, my local area has many, many events, okay? Now, I travel the world announcing so many major events all over the world. But one thing I do is I always know that back home, I can do local events. I'm in local radio, so it's great. So what do? I search the calendar of events. I search Google. I search whatever I need to search to find these events. And then when I find out these events, I find out who's running these events. And then I start sending emails. Hey, do you need an announcer? Do you need one? To this day, 20 years later, I will still volunteer to do events if I want to do that event the next year. And maybe that's my way in. Sometimes I'll volunteer to do a local event because I know it'll turn into a full job next year and I'll get paid to do it. And it sucks to have to do it that way, but sometimes if you really have a passion for that event, you really want to do that event, that's how you got to do it. You find the event, you reach out to these people, and you send them resumes, and you get out there, and that's how you do it. And I'll tell you, with some of these festivals and events, you can start out and get paid right away. Like I do some festivals, I do some events in my local town where I make decent money, not the money that I make when I'm on the road, but it's nice to have a little bit of local money when you're back home, making a little money and having some fun at home at the same time, doing what you do, doing what you love, and that's the love for announcing. Another thing I want to talk about and get a job is what's your knowledge base? This was a great one. Now, I've been to schools and I have spoke in on career days. I spoke to students and I told them one of the biggest things, one of the first things I learned when it comes to announcing is doing what you love. Doing what you love is so much better than doing something you don't love, right? That's obvious, right? So how would you do something that you love? How would you get involved in something that you love? Well, first of all, what's your knowledge base? What are you into? Okay, now when I've talked to classes, I've asked people, what are you guys into? And are you into music? Okay, you're into music. Okay, get a job in the music industry. Start searching what other jobs are available in the music industry and work towards that. So for me, I was always an action sports guy. I always was into action sports, from skateboarding to surfing to snowboarding to skiing, whatever, mountain biking, all of that. So I pursued in a way to get into those fields because that's what I wanted to do, because it was like not working. And still to this day, after over 20 years of doing what I have done, what I love to do, it's almost like I'm not working at all. Because I go to these cool places, I go to these exotic places, and I announce, and I get to hang out in these cool places, and I get paid to do it. So doing what you love is almost like not working. So it is one of those things that's so important when you have a passion for something. So what is your knowledge base? What do you know the most of? That's what it comes down to. You got to know what you want to do. You'd have to, right? That's what you have the passion for. So it's very, very, very important. So let's recap. Let's talk about it. Volunteering, it's the way to get in. Yes, I could teach you everything in the world about announcing, but if you don't apply yourself, you're not going to get the job that you want to get. So you have to volunteer. I'm going to tell you a story in a second on how I got in, not from the surfing side of things, but how did I get into sport announcing? I want to talk about that. But volunteering is a key way, all right? You want to volunteer to get started. Now, hey, more power to you. If you get a job that you're getting paid right off the bat and you don't have to volunteer, hey, that's all good. That's all on you, man. Good job on that one. Tell me how you did that, because I'd like to know, because I'll put that in another class, okay? Another thing we talked about, researching the events. How do I find out all these major events, Brad? How do I know what these are? Search your calendar events, man. There's events that happen every single year. In my hometown, there's probably 10 events that happen all the time, every single year. And if I reach out to those people, which I do when I know that I'm home for a stretch, I reach out to the people, send emails, get responses, send my resume, whatever I got to do. That's what I do to get noticed. And that's how I get noticed, and that's how I end up doing events, is that way right there. It's so important to be able to do it. So you have to research the events, you have to find them, and then you got to send out your resumes and get those events. And finally, what's your knowledge base, man? What do you know more of? I'm an action sports guy. So for me, it was easy to get into action sports because I already knew a little something about it. So I had that knowledge base and I already had the skills to be on a microphone. So it was actually easy for me to do it. So that's why I did it. I went straight to it. So having the knowledge base, that's important. Okay, so quick story for you. Got into announcing, was doing a great job, was doing radio, was like, we were the #1 radio show, and something was missing. I wanted to do more, okay? So doing radio is great, but I really had this passion to do sports. I really wanted to do sports. So what did I do? I looked at one of the high schools in town and said, you know what, there's a high school in town that they have high school baseball. So maybe I can just apply and see if I can get a job announcing some baseball for high school. And so that's what I did. I went to the high school, reached out to the people and said, hey, look, I see you have the full setup. Let me volunteer. And so I volunteered for high school baseball. And not only that got me into high school baseball, but it led to more and more. That got me out of radio, also got me to continue radio on the side, but to search for my passion, which was to do more announcing work. And that's what it was all about. By getting out there, applying myself at a passion that I loved and volunteering. And I did that, and that's what got a job for me. And from that point on, I haven't looked back. Over 20 years, successful announcing career. It's like, this is all from those things I tell you. So when it comes down to it, remember, volunteer to do jobs, research your events, and what do you have a passion for? This is Tame Your Talent, and that is, get a job.